Hi there. We're in Rauschenbusch, Christianity and the Social Crisis, page 170, in his chapter, The Work of Social Reconstruction. And now Rauschenbusch is dealing with monasticism. It is a remarkable demonstration of the incurably social nature, both of man and of Christianity, that when religion sought most earnestly to escape from social life, it turns its hand once more to build up a true social life. Every monastery proposed to be an ideal community. The idea that society and the state were ruled by demons and were anti-Christian in their character was abandoned as a matter of course when the church was supported by the state and society became Christian in name. But this primitive pessimism was not supplanted by any true conception of this world as the very place in which the kingdom of God was to be built up by making all natural relations normal and holy. The older view was replaced by another pessimistic amalgamation of Greek philosophy and biblical ideas. Philosophy had speculated about the original condition of humanity as a state of freedom and equality. The Bible told of a happy state in paradise before man fell. Man then must have been by nature free from those evils from which ascetic piety now painfully strove to free him once more. Originally, man was free from sexual desire and from covetousness. There was no family, nor private property, no commercial machinery for money-getting, no difference of rich and poor, or of master and slave. The ideal life, then, would consist in the abandonment of all these social institutions. Their abolition was out of the question for the mass of fallen humanity, but the chosen few, at least, could leave the sinful social life and create a little world apart in which they would live out the holy life which God originally ordained for man. These social ideas blended with the ascetic desire for self-discipline to create the monastic community. Here the foundations of civil society, the family, property, and worldly profession were annihilated, and here the life of Christian perfection was to be lived. Throughout the Middle Ages, an incalculable quantity of moral and spiritual energy was put into the organization and reformation of monastic communities. Whoever desired to live a consecrated Christian life became a monk, as a matter of course. Every monastic order was a society for Christian endeavor. The noblest and greatest minds spent themselves in summoning men to a still higher type of ascetic community life, or in repairing these fragile human edifices which were built on a contradiction of nature and persisted in obeying the law of gravitation and sliding down to ruin. In turn, all the great moral movements of medieval Christianity were led by monks and fostered in the monasteries, where all the idealists gathered. In ever-widening circles, the monastic ideal laid hold of men. The mendicant orders immensely increased the numbers because they made the support of the monks so cheap. And beyond the regular orders were the lay brotherhoods, the members of which approximated the monastic life as nearly as their family and calling permitted. Monasticism was rich in beneficent social effects. Many of the monks were sympathetic and wise counselors and friends of the people. Every monastery was a center for charitable aid of travelers and the poor. The monasteries, founded in wild and desert districts, became pioneers of civilization, models of better agricultural methods, and simple horticultural experiment stations. But they rendered this social aid without any intention to reconstitute the social community about them. That was impossible. If anyone desired to live in a really Christian community, let him come into the monastery. The monks aided the poor and sick because that was part of ascetic Christianity. In doing so, they gave away the property of the order, and giving was salutary, that is, helpful. They preferred the barren and wild places for their monasteries, not in the spirit of the modern missionary or the social settlement, because they were most needed there, but because they were farthest away from human society and therefore nearest to God. The Irish monks, for instance, first settled the lonely islands in their rivers, then the islands of the sea, then the strange countries with alien tongue, all to be pilgrims for Christ. Then, incidentally, they came into contact with the inhabitants of these foreign countries and became missionaries by force of their humane Christianity and in spite of their ascetic Christianity. If the monks became pioneers of agriculture, it was not because they were anxious to enrich the peasants. They had to work to get a living for their monastic colony, and the poor supported by it, and to be independent of the world. Moreover, work was a salutary means of subduing the sensual desires begotten by idleness, and of giving the vagrant thoughts a definite task. Usually, they selected trades that were compatible with meditation, and that did not minister to luxury. But since they were a community working under a single management, and having a continuous economic life, they had division of labor, gradual accumulation of wealth, and improvement of methods, and contact with the experience and resources of distant regions. Thus, the latent socialism in their community life worked a blessing in spite of their ascetic religion. In fact, every monastic body was a communistic colony. That was an essential part of its attempt to revive the apostolic and ideal life. I'll put a link into Jacques Ellul's thoughts, meditations on this, the compromise that the medieval view of Christianity, and especially its ascetic modes, caused. Because as Rauschenbusch meditates here, there was a blessing involved in it, and as usual with things human, there was also a curse. So we'll take up Rauschenbusch's thoughts on monasticism some more next time.